So Sri Chinmoy has this really funny story that he tells, which I find really insightful. That in his spiritual community, the Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, he was the champion athlete. So for many years consecutively, he was the sprinting champion there, and then he was also for some years the champion in the decathlon. But this was a spiritual community that also took sports and physical fitness very seriously. So they would have this big athletics competitions where all of the members of the community would take part. And Sri Chinmoy, for his time and for being in South India in the 1940s and 50s, he was a remarkably talented athlete. So he was running 11 seconds for the 100 meters, which is like even by today's standard is very good. But this was like with 1940s and 1950s tracks and spikes and all of
And
these.
then he was running barefoot on cinder
Yeah,
track.
he was running barefoot. Yeah, so I mean, he was definitely had some amazing talent
Yeah,
for.
one of his coach said that if he was unlucky because if he had been born in the Western world, he would have had more proper training and he would be able to be, a really world-class athlete. But I
Yeah,
think it was not in the cards for Shu Chinmoy to go that route. I mean, he had a different mission, obviously.
yeah, exactly. But at some point, after many years of being the champion in the sprints, he decided that he wanted to have the experience of finishing last. And
Yeah,
so I thought
I
that
know
was
that story.
I thought that was so sweet and interesting that he was someone, instead of only wanting to have the experience of being the champion, he wanted to have the experience of what it feels like for the guy who finishes eighth because he knows already what it's like to finish as the champion. And most people in that situation, they feel as though there's some specialness in just being the champion. And they would never be interested in what it feels like for the guys behind them. But he had this very broad consciousness and awareness that no, he wanted to feel all of the different experiences. And so he attempted to put himself in a situation where he was not going to win the race.
You
And
know
so
what he did?
he didn't prepare or he didn't warm up, I know, but what did he do?
He actually used some of his occult powers to make himself sick. So he gave himself a fever. He said he had the capacity to give himself a fever.
Yeah,
And he did that, plus he went, plus he, like, didn't eat or drink and,
yeah. And
you
I don't
know
think he warmed up for the race either.
right, didn't warm up, yes.
And so he did everything he possibly could to make it as hard as possible to have a good outer result. And so, but I mean, the story's really funny in the end because despite all of that, some inner force came and really pushed him. Like, and even though he was really trying not to win the race, still there was some force that actually pushed him to win the race, even though everything was set up against him.
Yeah,
But for me, the interesting thing was really that he had that oneness with the other striving human beings in the event, and he really wanted to feel what their experience was. And
yes.
one other really funny thing is that one of Sri Chinmoy's brothers was also Sri Chinmoy was the fastest sprinter, but his brother was the slowest possible sprinter, and his brother would always cheerfully turn up at the sports days and do his very best even though he was, his sprinting was not his forte. And so I always loved that for Sri Chinmoy, it was like the whole experience was important. Like from the winner to the last place person, each person's experience was equally valuable. And I think that's the great lesson to take from this. Even if we think our capacity is not so great in a particular field, even the great spiritual masters see value in the last person, the slowest possible person turning up and giving their best.